prison van way more than the truck now. Call the meeting of the 16th on board to order. Roll call to my left is Bert Spalding Jr.
Senior.
Senior, sorry. I get the juniors and
You're looking
seniors.
very young today, Brett.
Accused me of being young.
Senior. I know it's important to get the, all right, Bert Spalding Senior. I'm Ben Nelson. To my right is Tim Beard, and to my far right is Jeff Kessler. And administration.
Could we move this, I request that we could make a motion to move these to the end, and see the cases first, although this is relatively benign, the two requests for, one special exception, case 1090, and one variance, case 1097, to get extensions for their multi-unit workforce housing complexes, one on John Stark Highway and one on Spring Street. Both of them put in writing that they'd like to request an extension of 12 months each due to continued either getting their ducks in a row, permitting, finalizing supply chain.
I'll make a motion that we grant the 12-month extension in both cases.
I'll second for discussion.
12 months. Are you going to renotice the abutters?
I don't believe there is any need to renotice when you have asked for an extension prior to the expiration of the 24-month period. If you let it expire, it has to be renoticed, and you would, in essence, have to come in and rehear the case.
What abutters will remember 1 year from now?
Well,
So, without notification?
But these have already been approved, right?
this is approved. These are two approved cases.
Just they're not going to
Okay.
start construction until.
The law, the RSA has, if you haven't done any significant, or even some work, groundbreaking, that you have to show some good faith of construction, or your variance and special exception expire. The special exception is on the Spring Street one.
The key is already approved.
Yes, they're both already approved, absolutely.
And with
It's-
construction the way it is, I don't mind, I mean, I'd love them to get going, but I don't mind them.
Well, one of them happens to actually be here tonight, due to some revisions, and so I think there's just working out the kinks has delayed it a little bit.
And I know with the other one, they're trying to get their garage done first.
Right, and then there might be some monetary issues or delays with hoping things may.
Well, and I know we're digressing, but hopefully they'll give the town time with the governor's plan. There's money for the town. Now, can we get that after, it seems how they've already been approved?
Yeah, absolutely. I think especially, well, they would probably know even better than I do because they both work in this field much more extensively. But I would assume, especially under the circumstances of housing getting worse and construction costs getting more, that there could be applications to Sununu's
Just
housings.
Heads up to our select board members, that's money to the town
You mean
for
the
workforce housing.
workforce housing?
For the towns that approve workforce housing.
Yeah, was it 24 million or was that?
I don't know, something, but it's direct grants to the town that approves them, so
Okay.
I don't know if it's if they're in the pipeline,
We'll have to check.
I would ask. Okay. Minutes of the 19th.
Well, we haven't taken a vote on my motion yet.
Oh, so, yes. Any more discussion?
Did it get a second?
I did.
You said?
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Is that all, Christina?
Yes.
Okay. And minutes of the 19th.
Motion to accept the minutes as presented.
Second.
So, one of us is going to have to vote on. All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, I mean, I'll vote yes too. I read them over, they didn't seem weird. But we know better than to let them wait.
Yeah.
Okay. New business. Case 1130, David Milne, owner of, that'd be, somebody pronounce it for me.
Avenue?
Avenue, all right. Development agent requested variance in Article 4, Section 409 to prevent a multi-unit structure with less than the required 2 parking spaces per dwelling. The property is identified as map 116 lot 76 and is located in Spring Street in the heavy commercial R2 zoning district. And so I'll let the applicants present their case, and then
I'll not sit on this case.
I assumed that was coming.
This was additional information, and I thought I had attached it to the back of the case, but I'm not quite sure.
So we'll have the applicant present their case, and then we'll hear from abutters, and then everybody will have a second bite of the apple, and we'll close it to the board and go from there, so.
Now, before they proceed, since there's only 3 of us, we all have to be in agreement for it to pass. You know, the applicant always has the option to come back when there's a...
For another time.
Jack Franks Avenue Development Group here tonight with me, civil engineer here in Darrow. And I'd like to just add, if I could please, the portal for the governor's money is supposed to be coming open on June 20th. I've been working with Commissioner Caswell and one of the executive counselors on some of the language for that. So what I'll do tomorrow is I'm going to put an email to Ms. Donovan, and I'll put them in that email so that she can inquire directly to the state on that, because that money is going to be coming available. So opportunities like Spring Street and North Main, where Debbie and I are working on for the senior housing, I think those will all be an opportunity for the town. So I'll put you in touch with them tomorrow so that you can talk to them directly and you can forward that information to the board.
Yeah, my only thing is where it's approved but not started, does that, hopefully.
Yeah.
But the governor likes us, so hopefully that works.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair. You asked about agreement, because there are only 3 members.
If I have it.
Did you understand that?
Oh, is that it? That blue thing? Is that an easel?
Okay, and we can punt until next month if you want to come back,
Well, I
but,
think we're ready. We were
Okay.
here last month.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
So we're kind of in a little bit of a time constraint, and thank you for approving the extension. We have a scheduled closing date with the State Housing Finance Authority, scheduled for August 15th. That may get delayed until early September. So I know we were getting really close to the date of our approval, so that was for the reason for the extension. So I appreciate you doing that.
Do you need an easel, Mr. Franks?
Pardon?
Do you need an easel?
Well, I can hold it. I'm pretty-
Okay, because I'm not,
Or unless you want to...
I don't know if I have one. I'm not sure if that one is one in the corner. It's not, is it?
No, it's a screen.
How strong is that magnet on the board there?
I mean, it's...
I think that's what we did last time.
Yeah, I think that's what we did, right?
Yeah,
I think we set
I'll have it
leave that when you...
It's in the room around the corner.
in the other room.
Yeah, that room, right there.
You want some
The
air?
one that was approved, and that's,
Yeah.
We're supposed to get new windows.
I'll just hold.
These are original.
That might slam down
Going
because
through
here.
Department of Energy, and the last thing they said to us, well, you know, there's some match on that.
The windows cost 50,
Which is like paying for them full price now.
the windows cost 50% more than they did.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But what was funny, the letter they
Easel,
sent
you
to
want,
us.
you think tape will work?
50%
Yeah,
match.
a little
They sent
tape
us the
and maybe
wrong
some
letter
easel
first.
for the other one, that would be great.
Sent to a letter that was meant for like some town in Wisconsin. They're the one that 20% match.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, that's nice.
Put a little bit of tape on it.
It's 100 votes.
Yes.
Can you send us those letters?
Cool, that feels good.
It's 100% funded now.
My attitude is like, we've already blew a bunch on the cost, increased cost.
That'll work. I'm pretty good like that. Right.
Well, just on the bench work.
Good evening. My name is Erin Darrow. I'm with Right Angle Engineering, and I'm here this evening to represent a Vanaroo development for a modification to the approved plan. And specifically, what we're here tonight is for a variance from Article 4, Section 409.7 to allow for a reduction in the parking allowance for this site property. 2 per unit to 1.57 spaces per unit. We have submitted an application with the updated site plan detailing the criteria of how we meet the requirements for a variance. This is the plan that has been approved, and it includes 2 detention ponds and parking on both sides of the building that extend all the way over to the north end of the site property. As everybody got ready for construction, some geotechnical engineering took place over the winter, and it came to our attention that there were some issues with the groundwater elevation that needed to be addressed. And in taking a look at that, we made some modifications to the site plan that, in my professional opinion, is a significant improvement over what had been proposed, because it works more with the natural flow of the water, and it takes better advantage of site characteristics that in the long term I think will provide more longevity and more aesthetic benefit, in general. And it does require a reduction in parking. So, however, we believe it's going to have more parking than what's required. So I provided a pretty detailed memorandum, and since that is technically a public record, I'm assuming we don't need to read that verbatim tonight. But we can go through
Just
the...
summarize it if you would. I mean,
Okay.
if you can just,
Yes. Yes, I can do that. So, and
Do you want one?
yes, something happened to my copy.
Oh, sure. Here.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, we can start here with item 1. So basically, I provided a summary of what we're looking to do. And we're going to go through as to why this meets the requirements of the variance and improves the project as a whole. So 1, the variance would not be contrary to the public interest. So granting the variance would result in the construction of a parking lot that would exceed the anticipated demand for parking based on information from the New Hampshire Housing Finance Authority. Generally speaking, a workforce housing unit, housing development like this requires 0.9 parking spaces per unit. And that's based on consistent parking and traffic counts for similar developments all across New Hampshire. I'm not sure if that database includes outside New Hampshire, but it is something that's been reported over time.
Just in New
It's New
Hampshire.
Hampshire. But consistently, that has been the demand, because, some,
do we know when that was updated?
I think the last,
Those things have changed
I think it
markedly.
was 2018, I believe, is when the study was completed. I think they're probably in the process of updating that again, but I think that's over a course of a very long time, 20-plus years. So there's a lot of data there that supports the workforce housing developments across the state of New Hampshire.
consistently, that is shown to be the general demand for the average. Some people will have a car, some people who will live here will have no vehicles.
At Abenaki Springs in Walpole, New Hampshire, where we have 43 units, similar, community, a little bit smaller. I think there are 41 cars there for 43 units, so a little less than one car per unit there, but still in line with the state housing agency's expectations of parking demand. Unfortunately, there we have 86 parking spots now, and we have over 40 of them are not used. So it's kind of a bummer, because I would have rather put in more green area there, but that's the way it goes. So.
Yes. So .9 spaces per unit has been established as the recommended parking generation from the New Hampshire Housing Finance Authority. We're proposing 1.57 spaces per unit, which is less than the 2 spaces per unit that's required by the Newport zoning ordinance for apartment units. That 2 spaces per unit, again, is more than what is anticipated for the demand for this proposed workforce housing development. I think a very significant component to this is we're providing parking with an additional allowance beyond what is anticipated. We're able to condense the impervious surface in the pavement, and we're able to improve the drainage and stormwater management. From the plan that we currently have approved to where we are now, there's a reduction of over 6,300 square feet of impervious surface. And we are able to provide additional area for stormwater. We're able to increase capacity for stormwater runoff and retention, and provide a net benefit to any sort of water quality, off-site discharge. So really, we're going to address the demand needed for the parking, exceed the demand that's needed for the parking. Yes, it doesn't comply with the zoning, and that's why we're here tonight. But for what is anticipated to be needed for demand, we are providing a factor of safety, and we're going to be able to reduce impervious surface. So it is frustrating when you see these large parking areas that are only half full in many spaces, because that impervious surface is area that increases, heat, it increases runoff, it decreases green space. So it's finding that optimal balance. We need to have enough. We don't want to have any sort of negative off-site adverse impacts, but at the same time, have a balance between all those demands. So the spirit of the ordinance would be preserved because the proposed layout provides the parking that's required. It minimizes impervious surface, and there will be adequate off-street parking. So the likelihood of there being off-site spillover is very minimal. I can't say that 100% it would never happen, because nobody knows 100% about what might happen in the future, but the likelihood is very, very low. Granting the variance would do substantial justice. The proposed parking configuration would, again, allow for the effective use of the property, improve stormwater management, reduce impervious coverage, and provide adequate parking on site. And that's really the intent of this ordinance, and we're going to be providing that, and by granting the variance, substantial justice would be achieved. And I'm not going verbatim, but that basically provides a summary. Item 4, the values of the surrounding properties would not be diminished. Christina provided a copy of, I believe, the letter, the May 21st, 2022 letter from DGW regarding the anticipated impacts to the abutting property value. And as noted, there are no anticipated impacts to the value of the abutting properties. And I think it's important that it be considered that it's only for this reduction in the parking. It has nothing to do with the use or anything else with the site. Is would this reduction of parking allowance impact the value of the properties? Similar with all the other criteria. And now we're on to item 5. So literal enforcement of the provisions of the ordinance would result in an unnecessary hardship. So item 1, no fair and substantial relationship exists between the general public purpose of the ordinance provision and the specific application of that provision to the property. So strict enforcement of the permitted use and literal compliance with the parking requirements would result in an unnecessary hardship to the applicant because it would make it very difficult for us to actually complete construction of this facility. The proposed number of parking spaces and the updated site configuration will improve the use of the site property, decrease impervious surface, improve stormwater management, and result in a better project. The proposed number of parking spaces exceeds the demand anticipated on detailed parking study data. There will be more than enough parking and an improved site layout. The proposed use is a reasonable one because it provides more than adequate parking and decreases impervious surfaces in comparison with the 2 spaces per apartment as required by Article 4, Section 409.7. The proposed use with the parking is definitely the best option given the special conditions of the site property. Natural features of this property distinguish it somewhat from other properties as it limits the developable area and fragments the site to some degree. Excuse me. I need to grab a drink of water. Thank you.
How many units?
The decrease in the number of parking spaces allows for improved site grading, layout, and stormwater management. So the 3 things I kept saying over and over again were basically adequate parking, improved stormwater management, decreased impervious surface. And those 3 things, oh, I'm sorry.
A max of 1 bedroom.
I've got allergies.
One bedroom and 2 bedroom apartment.
Yeah, I'll be okay. So that's really what we have to address these 5 criteria. And I'm going to step out just for a moment. I'll be back in a second.
I can answer any additional questions if you have. These fell off. I'll pick these up for you.
Oh, they blew off. That's all right, you know who everyone is.
Okay, we want to do questions or hear from the butters? What makes?
Yeah,
Well,
can you detail more why you need to eliminate, what was it, like 18 or 20 parking spots? I mean, I am concerned about losing those parking spots. I mean, it may not be necessary all the time, but, you know, it's, you know, what was the trade-off that required you to eliminate the parking spots?
It was the groundwater table. It was much higher anticipated where this, and Eric could probably speak to it better than I, but this detention pond that we had, it was in here.
Yeah.
So the water runs this way.
Yeah.
And so when we were looking at the major detention pond that was supposed to have gone in here, realized that the elevation there wouldn't support that. And you can't find that out prior to doing test pits and digging. So this whole area over here really it won't support that. So in doing so, we eliminated just this area here for parking. Because I can tell you from experience that nobody's ever going to park there. It's just going to be a parking lot with no cars because we really aren't going to use that at all. So we were able to take these 2 areas and we were able to combine them. And because the water flows this way, and you can see that the elevation here is at 805. Down here is 790. That's 15 feet. So there's a huge difference. So go ahead, you can explain. I was talking about you asked the question about the elimination of the and the groundwater on the northern end was going to go was going to be impacted, so we,
Yes.
yeah, so I can let Aaron speak
So
now.
pretty much the retention pond needed to be moved. And
Yes.
that side parking lot was the only spot to move it
It was the best, and it's the best spot to move it to.
So
It's a
that's,
natural, it kind of naturally,
oh, okay.
to. Yeah.
it's, even in this previous version, yes, it's down on the lower part in the back, but you're still kind of fighting gravity a bit, and that's why we end up having 2 detention pond areas. And instead we have one, and it's where the water naturally wants to go on the site property. This is higher still, well, this is a little bit lower than right here, but it's where the water naturally kind of goes. So it works better with the site. We can reduce the number of parking spaces. And we really have to, because where the detention pond was designed, the groundwater's too high to make it work, so.
I mean, one of my concerns is, between the single and the 2-bedroom units, you have, I think it was like 60 bedrooms in the facility, if I remember.
36, 46, 56, 60, correct.
Yeah.
And we have, I think, 65 parking spaces.
Right, which means if everyone in a bedroom has a vehicle, you've only got like 5 extra parking spots.
Yeah, we have, at Abenaki Springs, we have a total of 14 2-bedrooms. So similar, here we're gonna have 18, so this is gonna be 4 more. And again, we have 41 vehicles there that are registered, that are there on a regular consistent basis for 43 units. So even there, where here we will have 4 more 2-bedrooms. We're still, I mean, if you added 4 more to that, we're at 45. We're still 20 additional parking spots there that likely won't be used. And, people not home at the same time, it's going to be, there's going to be ample space.
Right, but also Spring Street is not a street where you want to be parking on the street if you do have overflow.
Yeah, no, we would certainly add signs if we needed to on the main highway, no parking. There will be a guardrail system that I think we are planning on putting in here anyway, so I think that would eliminate any parking there. But the likelihood of, I guess, quite honestly, if there was an issue, if we did need additional parking, one area might be here in the future. We could probably have 7 more if we needed to get us to 72. But I quite honestly, overbuilding has been an issue with development over the past, and this is another situation where it flows better. We have the big thing is we get more green space. We really have another 6,500 square feet of green space and better drainage. So it's less impervious.
Less impervious.
Yeah.
Less impervious.
Less impervious. So it's a better. It's better. But again, we didn't know that until after the test pits and the borings and the drillings were completed.
Okay, so tell me again how many 1s and how many 2-bedroom?
We have 18 2-bedrooms and 24 1-bedrooms. And I think there are a handful of those. Yeah, 18 and 24, correct.
Any other questions on the first box? I guess, would anyone else like to speak for the project? Or any of others, I guess? And we'll go ahead with Spalding.
I want to get the numbers straight to make sure that we're right. What are the total number of apartments?
42.
Okay. And the breakdown, how many for 2 as opposed to 1?
There are 18 2-bedrooms and 24 1-bedrooms.
And originally, how many spaces did you put forward in your plan?
The town requires 2 for every unit, so that would be 84.
And how many are you asking for now?
That's 65. And
Excuse me?
65.
55.
65.
65. We've got more of a presentation, so I would like to hear the rest of the presentation. You were not done, am I correct?
I think that, I mean, I know I left somewhat abruptly, but that essentially concluded the presentation.
Let's hear from you. Go ahead, more questions, Bert? or-
Yes, and comments.
Well, let's, yeah, I was gonna say, let's get questions and then we'll hear from the butters and then we can comment afterwards maybe, or, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Do it by the book.
Yeah. So any more questions?
No, I'm all set on that part.
I mean, I'm sure more will come. Anyone else like to speak? Okay, I'm surprised. Okay, questions? Or comments?
Weekends, visitors, if in fact there's not sufficient parking. Now, during the week, yes, I can see people are working. The problem comes at night, but it is for the residences, and there's a high probability that that is enough. But then on the weekends, visitors come, etc. If in fact there's not enough parking, who handles it and how does it get handled? That's not a question for them to answer. It's a question for the board to answer, how it's handled. Because Spring Street does not allow for that parking. And that being the case, maybe there's a compromise between the two and et cetera that is not the 19 difference that we're looking at now. But I guess I would say when you purchase a lot and you design on it, you've got to figure into that how you're going to do the whole project. And yes, you can find out that you have impervious material that areas that aren't there that you thought, but that is a problem that you, the builder, handle. I do not see that there is a variance requirement here that is created by the lot decision. And that, outside of that, I think the project is worthy, but to cut back on the parking spaces. And the next question I would ask is, what are the width of the parking spaces that you originally proposed and now?
They're identical. They're the same.
And what is that dimension?
I'd have to scale it, but I think you have 10 feet. Is that what it is here?
Excuse me?
Is it 10 feet here or 9?
I believe that Tom designed them to be consistent with the Newport requirements, which is probably 10 by 20. It might be 9 by 18. I did not do this.
I don't believe we have. That is typically a building.
I think we do.
They tend to be more for Priuses and pickup trucks lately, I'm finding.
You think we have the size requirements in our variances?
Maybe.
Not for variances.
Not for, I mean, in our
Parking period.
code, in our zoning code.
I'll ask while you're digging for that, I'll ask another question. I'm gonna put my old fart hat on, and I plowed snow for a number of years. And for an apartment building, you used to be able to go in, clean out the entrances early in the morning, let people get out and go to work, and then the apartment would be pretty much empty and plow it out. Well, not as many people go to work right off in the morning depending on various reasons. And they used to have one car, sometimes they've had two. Anecdotally, I'm seeing 2 cars and they're working on one. Or they've got a utility trailer, or something that stays. So again, anecdotally, I'm just seeing more parking spaces in apartment buildings than I used to 10 years ago.
Well, in affordable housing, you were allowed to have no unregistered vehicles. You're not allowed to have utility trailers. You're not allowed to have campers or anything along those lines. You have your vehicles and that's it. And that's written into the lease. And those are lease violations, and that's that's not permissible. So, again, you know, with 42 units, if there were 42 cars, we've got 65, that's 23 open spaces.
Yeah, it is the
And
10 by
so
20.
then where's the snow gonna go?
It's shown here. It's all on what we had done. We have a snow area here that we're going to be plowing. This whole area up and through here would be snow areas to be removed. And if there is a need or an issue for us to have to truck it off, then we'll contract that and have it trucked off.
All right, so no parking spaces, because some lots, parking spaces get eaten up with snow.
No. That wouldn't be allowed. We have to have fire lanes cleaned, you know, by
Oh,
the
yeah,
state. All that stuff has to be, it's
But,
pretty.
I mean, everybody's seen parking lots with a snowplow
Yeah, you know,
on
not
6
affordable
spaces.
housing. No, the state of New Hampshire has a pretty stringent list of requirements and how things are maintained. So we have a pretty wide area here that would be able to handle a lot of that snow. Areas up in here that would handle that snow. But again, if there were a need for us to have to truck it off, it would just simply be trucked off. That would be pretty much all there is to it. But I mean, realistically, what we're talking about really is this area right here. Everything else is identical. Nothing else has changed. Everything else is the same. We just moved this pond and this pond to here. We have a clean path plowing here, area up in here, there'll be additional snow plowing. And realistically, at 42 spaces, we have 23. That's
It is,
half
it's
of
10
what-
by 20.
Half of what.
Zoning
you know,
code, it's
more
409,
than
I
half
think,
of what
0.3.
We're going to be using, again, so, you know, we're asking for a 0.43 reduction,
Yeah.
It is, it's 409.
0.43. And the data for New Hampshire housing is very clear, it's very clear as far as what the requirements are for these developments.
Parking assigned per unit?
No, the folks do have to register their vehicles, so we know exactly how many people have them, and that's one of the reasons why the data that they have is so concise, that everybody has to, you know, have accurate numbers of what, you know, pets, certain, you know, everything. It's all very heavily regulated. I mean, we're in a situation where our water tables here, as Aaron has spoken to, are high. We're going to be not able to put this project up without some changes made to this. So, you know, this is kind of what we're facing. We're trying to come up with a solution to the groundwater issue that we're suffering from here, and make this a viable project.
Have you been to a planning board on this?
No.
Yes,
Oh, yes.
not on the reduction in parking spaces, but on the plan, obviously in its entirety.
Right, is that something the planning board would have to take another look at?
Well, you know, I've questioned that only because it makes it, from planning board perspective, typically it makes it more within what they like to see. It's you that are really affected, the requirements. They like more green space. They like to make sure that there's less pavement, typically. So, but I haven't, that's tossed back and forth in my brain, just because usually when you ask for more parking, that's when I say, oh, I can't approve, that would, more pavement, more paving. Less, it's a little gray, but obviously they could easily go. I don't know what they would decide, because it's just less pavement, which they would be like happy for it.
Right, I'm thinking, say, a contingent where if they find they do have overflow parking on enough of a basis that it's a recurring event, that there's some option that they could put in so those extra 6 or 7.
That would be you writing it in of granting the variance,
Let me throw this out.
I believe.
Part of me, like I say, the old part of me says 2 spots make sense. You guys are providing data that says statewide you don't use it in Walpole. But if it's prohibited on Spring Street and we make sure people aren't parking on Spring Street, then it's more a you problem if you've got more cars and you've got parking lot, or your tenants are going to be parking in front of each other and that type of stuff.
And I can also add something for the record too, that this whole area up in here is area that I own, or actually the owners here tonight owns now that will own as well, or I'll own as well once this happens. There's an opportunity, if there was an issue, that if we needed to put in, 6 additional parking spots here, which I anticipate would never happen. Do have another area up in here that could be leveled, and there could be some additional parking if it was ever needed there. So, it's not like we're stuck in that if we found that there was additional parking that was needed, that we couldn't mitigate that problem at that point. But, we have opportunities to expand on that down the road, if in fact. In Swansea, for example, we asked for a parking reduction, and they gave us a parking reduction. It was 2, and we went from 2 to like 1.4, I think a little bit less than this. And what we were able to do is show, where we had a little bit of over parking if we needed it down the road, but that area is all green space now. It's going to be better for the children and better for, the environment. So, similar here, where we're going to have more green space, and it just flows better. And, we've got that spot up here where we need to, if we can, or over here down the road. So to answer your question, yes, we can.
Well, and where I was going, and less pavement is a good thing,
Yep.
but like, maybe have that space on the end gravel for now, and with 7 more spaces or whatever, and
Sure.
then if you don't need it, green it over. I mean, that's, I'm just throwing that out for the board.
No,
And
that's no worries.
Yes.
I take exception to what Christina said. The planning board in a site plan has to weigh all of it. The snow removal, the green areas, all of that has to be weighed together. When in fact we take this and do a variance to it, we make a stepping stone for less spaces in our environment. Yes, you get south of here, they don't have as much snow, but the parking for the people and people that come, visitors, should be adequate, not marginal. And if we reduce it to the point where it gets marginal, then we've got cars on Spring Street. That being said, I think that it makes it uncomfortable to take 19 spaces out from a project that is engineered on this site to be. We have not, you have not, seen any detailed report on the .9. I would like to read that report. So that being said, from my point of view, that it doesn't satisfy the requirements of a variance to reduce the parking areas by 19. And the parking spaces are required to be 10 foot by 20 foot. What is it that you actually have there without scaling?
Go ahead. Yeah, at first, are they 10 by 20?
I haven't scaled them, so it's whatever. We like I said, we didn't change anything that was previously approved. All this is still all the
So,
The only thing- So whatever it was is exactly what it was, this whole area. So we have 6,500 more square feet of green space, 6,500 more square feet to put snow. So that's incorrect, number one. Number two, we did submit from the state of New Hampshire a study that documents all of that, and that was on the record. So .9 is the number. So that's inaccurate as well. So we're here.
I think all he said was he hadn't seen it. I didn't
Yeah,
think he
oh,
said it was
sorry.
there.
Well, I thought you said we hadn't submitted, because it is submitted. We sent that in. Christina, was that given to them?
You did send that in. Is it in the main folder there?
I don't know. There's lots of stuff in the main folder that I haven't read.
Yes, it's this one. I apologize, I have numerous copies of this. It's that, hold on.
But what I was wondering, in that spot where he said would be for overflow, if we could stipulate that be designated as overflow parking with another, 10 spaces or something. I'm just throwing it out there for you guys. Because the way the driveway is gonna be set up and things, I don't see people parking on Spring Street, and I think a few tow zone signs would eliminate that.
Yeah, we just don't want to get into a situation where it does become an issue because
Yeah.
we have no authority to go back on it. Unless the stipulation is already in the variance.
Well, I think it would be up to the town for Spring Street, if somebody parks on the side of Spring Street, they can tell them. But, that's what I'm looking at. If we can stipulate some extra spots and that, then it would be my idea towards a compromise. And whether it goes in, I can let the planning board fight out whether they want to see it again. That's really not our purview, whether the planning board figures they want to see it again.
Jack, where's that spot that you said you could potentially put, like overflow parking?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. On the south side. South side, pretty straightforward. And this whole area up here is ours.
That is
So,
yours, okay.
yeah, so if we wanted to add additional parking up in here, we could easily add 100 spots.
What about parallel parking along that entrance drive?
Might be difficult, only because of the plowing, and we want to leave ample room for the fire department, so the fire department signed up on that, so we probably want to leave that chute open. I suspect that a vast majority of people are going to probably come in here to park on this side, of the building, and that's
What I'm thinking is there enough room here to widen this, so you can have enough road parking along the side there, and still have your entrance?
I think the way the contours are running now, it's going to be a little bit difficult. The easiest spot would be to ask them to just put a few more in here, or as the chairman suggested, we could just gravel that. That's-
Well, yeah, I'm not saying pave it, just,
Yeah, gravel it, because, that would be.
I think we'd be a lot more at ease if that was just a, I don't know, big, but just a gravel area that you'd have overflow parking, that
Yeah.
20 spots, that would give you more than, you know what I'm saying, like, you need to spend a lot of money and pave it or anything, just,
We're up here.
yeah, just like, here's some
Well,
overflow
no,
parking.
and
Right.
There's quite a bit, none of that's in the budget, at this juncture.
needs grading.
Yeah, but we've got 65 parking spots. If we, were to leave this gravel, as a great suggestion there, we're talking 6 more spots. We're at 71. We're double what we, probably really need. But if Christina shows you that data, it's pretty compelling. And this is from a state agency that's been on for, over 20 years.
And, there are communities to the south of us have better public transportation than we do. So it's less need of a car to the south is but your Walpole data means more to me than the state average probably.
Yeah, and where we are in Walpole and where we are here, the site was picked specifically for walk score. So the part of the funding mechanism is, where are you? We're within walking distance to McDonald's, to the health center. We're right there, and that's the reason why. We've actually had conversations about whether or not we're going to put a little bridge in the back there, a little walkway over there.
Oh, that would be cool.
Yeah.
Probably
So-
be ideal to be able to cut
Yeah.
straight through.
So, with fuel prices the way they are, and things going up, and people driving, less and owning cars, and can't even find a used car, for God's sake, I'm looking for one. But, the walk score is really a big asset here, and that's why we picked that spot, because we knew that people would be able to walk. So,
Well, I've been thumbing through this thing to see the .9 somewhere, but,
I think I might know where it is.
okay, yeah, feel free. urban youth aren't even getting licenses now.
What's that?
Urban youth aren't even getting licenses now, which you don't need to drive, but up here it becomes.
It's pretty large. I'll try something. There's this one, and then I've got two more coming, one for.
Oh, yeah, but we're still digging for where the .9 is, isn't it?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's journey to work. There we go.
Page 43.
Auto ownership, yeah, found it.
43.
It's on page 43, yep.
There you go, that's all.
Then you
But-
get his back. There's
No.
one more copy. Then there's one more copy.
Oh, you better at least put it down some. Yeah, and age,
Oh, the breeze coming in.
age restricted is .8 and general occupancy is .9. Number of passenger vehicles.
While we're in silence, other than scaling it off of there, I haven't actually heard the words, the parking spaces will be 8 by 20.
10 by 20.
10
That's
by
what,
20. 10 by
10
20.
by 20 is what our zoning regulation requires.
Right.
And so that's what we are expecting.
And I said that the parking spaces will comply with the zoning.
Yeah, 10 by 20 is what we asked for, so. Those tenants with compact cars will be fine. Those with full-size pickups are gonna have a tough time anyway.
Alternate parking. Compact truck, compact truck.
We could designate, through the striping process, we could designate areas for electric vehicles if we need to, or.
Oh, no, we have pickup trucks and we're complaining that the spots seem to be getting smaller. At least that's where I'm coming from.
I think pickups are just getting bigger.
But if they're 10 by, and, yeah, I mean, that would have been to comply. If we do a motion, we can put it in this motion as double, so I guess we haven't been terribly structured, but
That's all right.
it works. But I mean, I would rather err on the side of starting with gravel and turning into green space later than have green space turn into parking later would be my. And I think the powers to be call gravel an impervious surface too, but,
No, I don't.
Well, gravel is more impervious,
okay.
but, you know, it depends, like for an alteration of terrain, they consider that impervious.
Right.
So gravel, depending on the level of compaction and other things, it will not be as pervious as say grass or a
But better
surface.
than concrete.
It'll have probably more infiltration than a paved surface, but it depends on what it is at the top and
Well, I mean, that's where I would go, is just, good enough for the overflow parking.
Well, we can easily add that on that far end if you wanted to say, 6 additional spaces to the south end of the building adjacent to that will be left gravel, and we'd be happy to do
So
that.
you think all it's gonna fit there is 6?
Yeah, I think 6.
That gets us to 71.
Here. Because we have this area right here, where we could just add gravel.
Well,
Yeah, so just additional, that work.
well, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, over here, I think 5.
Yeah.
Well, maybe,
I think we can run it this way a little bit further, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay. What do you guys think? So, yeah, so this is 1.4, so that gets us to, I'm not gonna do math in public, but that gets us to well above 1.5. for,
Yeah, gets us,
Would be 70 divided by 42, would be almost 1.7 parking spaces per unit.
Personally, I could live with that, but I don't know.
respectful compromise.
Let me refresh my memory. Are we voting on all 5 now, or how are we doing this?
You would be going through them, someone making the motion on each, and then voting. You'll be the only one writing it down. Well, unless you did, yeah, I know. I think you weren't here when they voted. The chairman was gonna make the notes. Although Maura also documents what's stated, and we can also look at video. So if you get some of your wording wrong, I wouldn't worry.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to break this down, I'll make a motion that granting the variance would not be contrary to public.
Excuse me,
Yes.
did you officially go into deliberations?
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I'll take a motion on that.
No, I don't want to make that motion.
To go into deliberation.
Sure. Make that motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I said we're being informal. All right, so we're in deliberation. We actually deliberated ahead of time, but
So you can backbeat the time.
if we're done deliberating, I would entertain motions.
Make a motion that granting the variance would not be contrary to public interest because the intent to keep parking off-street would be met based upon the applicant's information and information done for New Hampshire Housing Finance Authority in September 2017. You got all that?
This will allow enough room, according to evidence provided, to keep cars on the lot. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Or adequate on-site parking. Jeez, this is like the meeting you miss, you get to be secretary too.
Don't worry about it being perfect.
Oh, believe me, it's not. Did we vote?
You need a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Make a motion that spirit the ordinance is observed because the applicant intends to provide sufficient parking for all tenants.
Second?
So,
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Make a motion that granting the variance would do substantial justice because it allows the applicant to develop their property and maintain the spirit of the ordinance.
I'll second that. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
And I'll make a motion that for the following reason, the value of the surrounding properties would not be diminished because the property owner intent is to maintain sufficient parking for all tenants on the property.
I'll second that. Any discussion? All in favor?
Make a motion that no fair and substantial relationship exists between the general public purpose of the ordinance provision and the specific application of the property because supply documentation indicates that the proposed number of parking spots is sufficient for the intended use of the property. And the proposed use is a reasonable one because it will provide sufficient parking for the tenants. You can paraphrase that if you want.
There's a fair, basically. I think I spelled tenants a couple different ways here.
That's fine.
It's a beer I used to get in Scotland called tenants. I'm not sure if it's so bad.
And so when you make the main motion, just say that the additional gravel parking spaces.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we grant.
Excuse me, is
Yes.
there a second or a
Oh,
vote?
second. I will second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Maura.
You're welcome.
Glad someone's keeping score. I'll make a motion that we grant variance for case number 1130 as presented with the requirement that the applicant provides additional overflow parking for at least 6 vehicles on the south side of the property.
Second.
I do it?
so,
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Yeah, on the final one, that has to be on the final one too, right?
That has to be in your notice of decision. You will have to write that in, the notice of decision paperwork is attached to the front of the red envelope to the left, right? there, to the left, it's attached,
Oh,
right there. Are the additional parking spaces required regardless or required if needed?
Regardless.
regardless.
Okay,
Gravel.
gravel.
Yeah.
Then I would just,
And specify gravel, just, provide for overflow parking for at least 6 vehicles, I think is how I phrased it. Whether it's gravel or whatever the composition is, that's.
Okay.
Excuse me, Christina. I can transcribe it and get it to Christina tomorrow morning, so it'll be exactly as it was
Leave
worded.
that up to you.
I would not change one word, obviously I couldn't, so if you would want to sign it without that written, you can, or you could,
Well-
to bring it out to you.
Well, I mean, basically,
You could write it, and
Yeah.
then, yeah. And then I could also put the exact wording in after Laura gets it to me, so it'll have both your written and the exact.
6 additional. What is it, the east end of the
South.
south end?
Compass Rose is correct on that. If the Compass Rose is correct, I'm going by your.
Yeah, so, yeah.
So making 71 spaces. Seventy-one 10 by 20 spaces. May I use that for editorial? 71 10 by 20 spaces?
You can.
Spaces are defined,
Yeah.
size of spaces are defined in our zoning ordinance.
So if it was less than that, they'd have to
So we're
come.
just double codifying it.
Yep.
And today's the 16th. I think that's no extra.
That's all right. That's
Yeah,
perfect.
Well, I just want to make sure I didn't have any of my extra crap in there.
That's all right. I'll take, this, I guess, out of your way. Do you want me to take anything else?
Nope.
Okay, and then this is the next case, which is Fox.
I think I put my.
This I need.
Yes,
And then this goes with this case, unless you want it. And then the next case is Fox on the agenda.
Okay.
Are you gonna sit for the next case? No.
Yes, no, okay. Case number 1131, the Fox Family Revocable Trust owner requests, thanks guys. Request a special exception is provided in with Article 4, Section 403 to permit the creation of a back lot. The property is identified as map 231, lot 21, and is located at 289 Maple Street in the rural zoning district. Okay, you guys. Tell us what you're looking to do. Go ahead, yes,
Ready? Okay.
and just, and state your name for the,
Patrick Dabrowski, land surveyor. Not good with zoning things, so.
Does everyone have a set of the plans?
I actually have
Yeah.
one to.
And there is a large one also in Ben Nelson's folder, and everyone should have an 11 by 17. But Ben, you do have a large scale one in the back. Right, you just picked it up. Nope, it's right there.
Okay, as far as I know, this is a special exception for Article 4, Section 403, for a back lot in the rural zone. And essentially, this is the back lot. 50 feet of frontage and 3.75, sorry, 3.5 plus 3.75 acres. 'Cause at the time when I created this, I didn't know what this area was. And ample frontage for the lot 1. Lot 2 is the one that's requesting the 50-foot back lot there, special exception. And questions?
Yeah, so this right now is currently one lot,
Yes.
and with the approval of the creation of a back lot, you'd then be going to the planning board for subdivision?
Yeah, we're in the process of.
They will be seen next month in front of the planning board if you approve the special exception. They have met, the surveyor Dombrowski has met our requirements in the section and article, which is at least 50 feet road frontage and at least exactly 2 acres of square footage. We state it as 7,120 square feet, which is 2 acres.
So basically, the only thing is it's the 50 feet instead of 200, right?
That's, you're allowed the 50
Oh.
via the special exception.
You're right.
Yeah.
It's not a variance, so this is, the allowed the 50 as long as you have the minimum 2 acres and you have the minimum 50, and there are no right-of-ways that would be reducing the road frontage, which there aren't. So they meet all the requirements for receiving a special exception.
With the right-of-way again, there is eventually, this lot will most likely access that lot from the existing driveway. So it will be like kind of this area here will be like a right-of-way in common, but it's not established yet. Does that make any difference with the back lot?
It states a private right-of-way cannot reduce the road frontage, or so would it make it a private?
No, it has 50 feet of actual frontage.
Right,
Oh, there's no private
So it
right-of-way at all.
says existing driveway, so is that just the driveway to the existing house now?
Yes.
Okay.
so you're right, a right-of-way, even if they added a right-of-way to the front lot via the 50-foot road frontage, it would not reduce, the right-of-way does not reduce the 50-foot of frontage.
Right.
Well, you couldn't do it. When you write it in, you couldn't state that it would reduce it when you put in, when you're gonna add the right-of-way through there.
Well, this is ownership for this lot too.
Right,
And there will be a, well, right-of-way in common for this lot to access the
Yeah,
lot.
or there may be an easement.
Easement right-of-way is essentially the same thing, it's just like utility easements and right-of-ways, but they're generally the same language.
The underlying property would be owned by Lot 2. Is that a fair statement?
Correct, yes.
Okay, so the Lot 1's access over Lot 2 would be through a right-of-way or easement with Lot 2.
Correct. Right-of-way in common.
All right, I'm ready.
I was gonna say, yeah, it looks like it meets everything. Any comment from the public? I assume you guys are, okay.
Good evening.
But I need to ask it, so any comment from the public? All right, we'll close it off to the board and enter into deliberation. Or, do I have a motion to go into deliberation?
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Is that a yes or no? Oh,
The nice part about this is you get 2 places, 1 exit onto a highway.
Or vehicles. I'll make a motion that we approve the special exception for case number 1131 as presented.
Second.
Any discussion?
Excuse me, you're
Yeah.
not gonna go through ABC? With special exception?
You have the worksheet in yours, it's yes or no's, I believe, is that correct?
I will,
I have it here.
yeah, I know we really do.
The answer is, it really is consistent. I can go over it.
No, we're fine.
We got it.
Just make the motion that the answer to A, B, and C is yes. Then we don't have to do 3 separate. That'll work.
And, yes, and I'll amend my motion to state that the standards of A, B, and C have been met.
Thank you.
And Tim seconded, I think.
Or,
Bert did. All right.
Yep. No problem with the change.
All in favor?
Aye.
That was a record.
You did.
That's it.
That was,
Excuse me, you did A, B, and C, and then you did not memorialize the,
they did. They
I
all
did.
said aye.
I amended the motion to state that requirements of A, B, and C have been met.
And they all,
okay, so you combined.
Yes.
Thank you.
The old man will be proud.
Did you sign with no
No,
condition? Okay, just sign and then perfect, and then that's fine. And then this. And then not anything last. I gotta take all this pen, and now you've got this.
We should have added that the right-of-way for Lot 1 should be included now
Right.
rather than later.
You'll get notice of the decision in the mail.
Okay, that's fine.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Good night.
prior to,
That's family. Well, it'd be all right 70 years from now. It's no right away.
Are you? No, you're not.
Yes, I am.
Well, that's good. Actually, that's a small thing. As simple as
well, yeah, it becomes an issue when they want to sell.
keep it
I'll
simple.
get some water.
It would require Lot 1 to make its own entrance then,
Yeah,
which in my understanding was there actually is one.
Pardon me?
Is the 1132?
Yes. He would be White Mountain Properties.
He was with them last time, right?
He owns the property on North Main. I believe he owns 17 rental units, multi-rental units in Newport. And he happens to own the land that Avenue Development Group is possibly presenting that senior housing project. They have not gone to the planning board yet. Not that that matters to you, but they just haven't, just side note. So it's a tight-knit community here.
Okay. Did you guys finish?
Yep.
okay, we all set? Okay, case 1132, White Mountain Properties LLC owner requests a variance as provided in Article 2, Section 208.3 to permit a multi-unit structure with less than the required lot area. The property is identified as map 111, lot 232, and is located on Sunapee Street in the general residential zoning district R2. I saw that the first time I read it, that you'd left out street, and then it threw me the second time I read it.
I know, I'm sorry. They don't, yeah, Sunapee, it's located on Sunapee, right, not in Sunapee, you're right. On
Like I
Sunapee.
said, I caught it the
You're in
first
wrong town
time.
For this one.
I caught it the first time and missed it the second time. Okay, if you wanna
Sure.
tell us, state your name for the record and tell us what you're looking to do.
Yeah, good evening. Doug Campbell, the managing member of White Mountain Properties. And we own that lot there, 232. I can draw a picture of it. Are you familiar
Well, I
with the
think-
location?
I think we've got,
You got it. Oh,
Yeah.
beautiful. Perfect, okay. So the R2 allows for multifamily housing. The lot size is 17,000 square feet. And the square footage per unit, as the ordinance is written, is 4,000. So it automatically allows for a 4-unit to be built there based upon how the ordinance reads as it is. My request is to reduce that 4,000 square foot down to 2,125 to allow me to do an 8-unit on this property. That's the request.
okay, do you have, I guess, it seems like a lot of units on a relatively small, you're looking, and I think this is the driveway where you're looking to come in, is that?
So I own that property at 118 Sunapee Street, so that has already an easement on it to allow for access to 120. And if you actually go to 120, sorry,
I'm sorry.
on Sunapee
Do you
Street.
want to show me which one?
Yeah,
You could draw.
I think he's gonna come across here.
Yeah,
So,
so this is. the
Yeah, that's right,
driveway.
yeah.
Okay.
so there's,
And you own,
I own this one and this one, but even if I didn't own it, there's still a right of way. But
yeah,
I do
you
own
own
this building.
this one
Yeah.
and this one?
Yeah, no, just this one here.
Oh, okay.
And 232.
Yeah, okay.
And 232. Now, if you drive by Sunapee
We
Street.
have to make this so that it is explainable to those who are watching and here.
Oh, is
So
that-
can you give us a hand
Oh,
drawing?
yeah.
It's okay? Sure.
Right, because what you just explained to the chairperson was not explained to me. Okay.
So Sunapee Street, you guys had a budget surplus, I noticed. I was reading.
Was it on markers? though?
All right, so Sunapee Street. Okay. This is Quinta Circle. This is lot 231, which is 118 Sunapee Street. I own that, so there is a there's a right-of-way here on 118 Sunapee Street to 232, which is the lot of interest and the subject of the variance request. So, yeah, so there's a right-of-way there. Now.
A
if you-
recorded right away.
Yes, it's in the deed for 118.
Okay.
Now, I just noticed this. I don't know if anyone has any history here, but if you drive on here, at one point, there was a driveway there. You can see that. There was a driveway there at one point. Now, whether I use that or not, that's a different thing. I just noticed it the other day. But the main intent is to use here.
Well, I did drive by and I thought, God, that's an awful spot for a driveway when I was driving by.
There was at some point,
I hadn't seen,
someone had access to it.
I hadn't noticed this little drawing on the map.
On 11 and 103, DOT has the jurisdiction on the driveway,
Okay.
not
Yes.
this board.
And you would get approval for one, at least one, and I would think only one, but they have to allow access for at least one driveway.
This makes the most sense.
From 11 and 103. It's DOT, not this board.
Correct, but they do have to allow them to access it from Sunapee Street.
No, they don't.
Yeah, yes.
Okay, I'm not gonna debate it with you.
It's not, yeah, we don't need to.
DOT can set the criteria for it if there's one there, but with an alternate path, I'd be surprised if they did. Because the access to 11 and 103 becomes their jurisdiction and their decision.
Okay, yeah, it's not, I mean, if the plan in front of this board is from Columbus Circle, that's what we'll deal with. Now, so would you be looking to build in the upper part, I'm assuming?
So, the final designs and such haven't been done. My initial sketch is using the setbacks, the 30% coverage requirement, and then I can do the 8 plus the 16 parking spots. If I'm unable to do that, I'll either return here or I'll change my design to accommodate. But my first pass drawing showed that I can meet those requirements.
Okay, any questions from the board?
So what you're saying is your first pass, you can get 8 units in there.
That's right.
With the
Two-story.
Two-story units, and maintain and provide 2 parking spots per unit, and still maintain 30% green space.
That's right. That's without a survey. It's hard to get surveyors right now. I'm in the queue right now for that.
Yeah.
But based upon, just my ability to scale a little drawing with the 10 by, the 10-foot parking spaces,
Yeah.
the,
Setbacks.
exactly, whatever's in the ordinance. If I'm unable to achieve that, I will either return here, or I will just accept that and go at a lower unit count.
How big is your, I guess, building with 8 units in there? About, how big is that on the?
Shame on me, I didn't bring the sketch. Okay.
206 by 82.
I mean, just at first blush, to me, it seemed like a lot of units for a fairly small lot. I mean, obviously, it's a lot of units for a fairly small lot.
So is it just one building that's 2-story?
That's the idea.
Yep. And the plan is to use Columbus Circle for your right of way?
As the primary, yes.
Yeah.
So how many rooms are you looking at per unit?
I would do a mix, predominantly 1-bedrooms.
Okay.
I don't have the final count yet, so.
Okay, because I'm just looking at what we require for square footage for,
Right, correct, yeah, there's a,
yeah, as a scale here. But,
If any other variance is violated in the plans,
yeah.
he would have to come back.
Right. Right now, basically, it's actually section 208.4 that specifies at least 4,000 square feet lot area for one.
that's right.
But that really doesn't take into account whether it's all 1-story apartments or 2-story apartments or such. I mean, it's kind of...
To meet the 30% requirement, you need 2 stories.
Right, which is a separate requirement from the 4,000 square feet per unit. It's sort of like you've got competing, or actually, you've got setback requirements, you've got the 30% green space requirement, and you've got this one that says you need 4,000 square feet per dwelling unit. And also in there, you've got to provide 2 parking spots per unit and access in and out. Christina, will this need to go to planning board too?
Yes.
Okay, because they'll deal with things like snow removal and all that stuff.
Yeah, and, right, and then it'll have to be reviewed by, it's basically will be held at an apartment complex scale on a much smaller scale.
Yeah.
Yeah, the site plan.
Do we have a building footprint, a size, 24 by 30?
I feel like I failed you on that. I have a sketch, 150 by 100 is the number that comes in my head, but I don't know why I didn't bring it. I don't have it, I apologize. The idea is that if I'm unable to achieve the rest of this, then I kind of go back to either reducing it or coming back to you in the future. This allows me to clear the land, get it surveyed, come up with a design. I mean, I'm doing this, back of the envelope. I think I can do it. If I can't with a surveyor giving me the dimensions and the elevations, then I won't.
The 150, because the whole lot's 82 feet wide, right, or 82 and a half.
Yeah, I mean, I could be, yeah.
I mean, we've approved decks and, lean-tos and type of thing with back of the envelope. I don't know, I'm a little reticent with back of the envelope for 8 units. I don't know if anybody else has the same reservations I do. And I know it's a chicken and egg thing. You don't want to spend a ton of money without it.
I can tell you this, if I may.
Yeah, sure.
So I have 53 apartments in town. I have had 9 turnovers this year. I've had 450 inquiries on those
Well,
nine-
yeah,
on
all
those
right,
9
yeah,
turnovers.
yeah, I know we need the units. But like I say, this isn't a deck or a carport or something, like I said, that we've done back of the envelope, that we're real comfortable doing back of the envelope with. But I don't know, maybe that's really.
I can tell you that I've done a drawing to scale, I don't have it with me, where I could meet this based on Doug Campbell's sketch and my ability to scale. Now I need to go to the next level with the professionals.
Yeah, no, did I hear a question?
I got to agree that it's insufficient information for us to make a decision. We need to look at the variance in the 5 steps, and we can't do that. So I say that we continue it to a point at which we can get more information. The 15-foot right-of-way should also be presented. I've got to go back to DOT there with Christine. There is a grandfathered status, but on 11 and 103, they can override that. And they did, wait a minute, they did it on 11 and 103 from the Kellyville Bridge in that project. They took 2 feet and did away with what's called the fee simple ownership of under the property that gives you that right.
I just was stating that every property that has a Sunapee Street address, DOT has to allow some access via Sunapee Street. They get to decide where, how wide, but they can't just say you're not allowed access to your own private property. They have to allow some. Now, of course, I could confirm that definitely, but I don't believe they have a right to cut off any access. Say pretend there was no access on the back. They have no right to not allow you onto your own property.
Okay.
That's what all I was saying, that you can't eliminate someone from getting on and off their own property.
All right. We need the deeded right-of-way information also. The reason for that being, it is possible, at this point, without our knowledge, of the actual subdivision of this lot required that rather than to come out on Sunapee Street, which is John Stark Highway. So the deed work for the right-of-way and this lot would be relevant to your request.
So I'll say this. I own that property, and whatever the deed needs to be, I'll make it that way if it's not the case.
Okay, but it states here in front of us the 15 is already there.
That's right.
So that means that it's recorded somewhere.
That's right.
Okay, and that recordation, the date of that recordation would be important Because did that come with the subdivision that created this lot in the first place? In order to alleviate the hazard entrance onto Sunapee Street. In other words, was it a thoughtful thing done at that time for this lot creation?
I'll ask another question. How would you ever develop that lot without this right-of-way being?
How did someone develop it in the first place? Did, if you and I were here today and we had to do this, we've got this piece up here which goes,
Right.
which includes both of the lots that you own now.
What could
right?
be 10, 15?
And we say, as we make this second lot, this back lot, where will its entrance be? And so we say, here is better than here. So I would have,
15 on the
it would
front,
be
8 on the sides.
to your benefit
15 on the
to produce that
rear yard,
information
25.
in your behalf.
Okay, so more on the back than the front.
That right-of-way probably, in my mind, as a guess, was created in order to accommodate this other lot. And if that was done by a board, then it is poured in concrete. There's your entrance.
But, I mean, Christina's right, they probably can't deny access, but they could, access to go in and take wood off is different than access to build a house. So
No, I
they-
believe it's an open, you have private property rights, that you're allowed to put something other than just removing wood from it.
No, I've got landlocked, there's landlocked land that you can put a forestry cabin on.
They're not landlocked, they,
Yeah.
they
Well,
have.
we're digressing way off. the-
Right, I could, again, I can confirm that, but I'm pretty positive that they have to give some access to this
Yeah,
lot.
yeah, we're get digressing. But,
Ben, can
oh, go on.
I jump in on that
Yeah.
one? CAR, Controlled Access Right-of-Way. When they did the Kellyville Bridge, they bought a 2-foot strip all the way along past my property. I fought it tooth and nail, because here's what happens. You've got a road, if I can draw on your picture, here's the road. If I'm a butter, I own to the center line of that road. You do on your property. So, therefore, they wanted to control the entrances. So what they said was, we're gonna buy a 2-foot strip right here. That takes away your property rights for the entire road to the center line. And I had to accept the checks. I fought it tooth and nail, that what they were doing was a ruse, because they were buying 2 feet to gain 30, not buying the 30.
But they didn't prevent access, correct, to your private properties?
Say that again?
They didn't prevent access onto your private property.
They do now. I cannot put another driveway on, I
Right,
can't
another.
widen it, I
You
can't
have-
change it.
Right, you have access, the one, yes.
I found my drawing, that's where.
So, it's
Can I
not,
see it?
the deed,
Sure, yeah. 120 by 50 was the dimensions, not 100.
I was gonna say,
No, I
100, 150,
120 by what
marked
now?
out numbers, but that's there.
120 by,
120 by what?
50.
so we know which way it's gonna be oriented.
That was, and that's, you know, with a roller to scale.
Whoops. How do I get it back?
I have a picture of my girlfriend there, dude.
So, yeah, it's a long way on. Yeah, so it's gonna be. 50, so it's gonna be like 15 feet on each edge.
Okay, another issue though, I mean, your lot coverage. All buildings, including accessory buildings, shall cover not more than 30% of the area of the lot.
Mhm.
So you're covering more than 30%, aren't you?
Tell me I made an error.
Math and
That's not
public
the
is
first
tricky.
time.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you need.
30% of 17,000, what's that? That's, yeah, no, it's pretty darn close. So 30% of,
17,000 is about 5,000.
so it's 3,000, 5,100. And I'm currently this is Doug's drawing,
Yeah.
50 times 120, so that's 5,000, 6,000. Okay. So the answer to that is, I'm not asking to break this yet, because I don't have a final design.
Yeah.
Well, you're,
So it's, what I could do is change the mix of the buildings, it'd be one bedrooms, and reduce the size.
So what are we doing tonight? Do we need more information, and what do we need, or?
I think we need more information. We need deed for 231 and 232. We need building footprint, parking, etc., so that we can make sure that we are within the 30% requirements and meet all setbacks.
You don't really have to worry about all that, because if he was to ever present it to the planning board in violation of, it couldn't even move forward to the planning board if he was in violation of setbacks or
You're
parking.
asking us to approve something we don't have knowledge about?
Only approve this one request for the coverage. If he comes to me with anything that breaks anything else, he has to immediately come back to you, because you're only approving the one item, nothing else. And that, so any plans that violate any other zoning code, he cannot move forward. He has to either change it, or he has to come and ask for another variance.
But
Just a point of reference.
Christine, aren't we dealing with what we can do tonight with what information we do not have?
He was only asking for the one item. Again, you still might not be able to decide tonight, but parking you wouldn't have to worry about, because unless he has the 16 spaces, he has to come back to you for a variance or shrink the size. That was all I was stating, and it would still go to planning, but you would only be giving him a variance for this one item, not that you can do that, even that one. I'm not stating you believe you have enough information for that one variance, but
How long would it take for you to get a plan to us? Now, you have a surveyor problem?
I don't understand why that's required as part of the zoning decision. I understand the constraints of building, I understand all these dimensions.
Yep.
The final design will be within that or won't proceed. What I'm asking for is the ability to increase the number of units. If I can't achieve what's in the ordinance that I don't have, I can't go forward, right? So I guess I don't understand why you're asking for that. I don't have a final design. The surveyors are at least 3 months out, at least. I mean, I can't even get started.
And they're expensive too, and, I mean, I'm not looking for, this is just me talking, I'm not looking for a survey, I'm looking for a drawing on paper that,
That's fair. There's some unique elevation issues I'm gonna have to deal with in order to make this. I'm gonna have to move some soil and all that, so.
So right now, you could put a 4-bedroom on there without.
I don't need to come here for the 4-unit. It's not, I don't have to come for any variance, it's within the ordinance.
Just the fact that our zoning ordinance wants to see 4,000 square feet of lot space per dwelling unit. And once you get,
This changes the 30% rule, is that what we're talking about?
no, that's
No.
separate.
No.
It's separate. This is one.
it's only the one variance.
So you need 4,000 square foot per lot.
Yeah, and he's just asking for
per
the,
unit.
Per
per unit, and he's just asking for the.
Lot area requirement per multifamily dwelling shall be in accordance with the lot area stipulations in 208.3, provided that at least 4,000 square feet lot area per dwelling unit shall be available for either new construction of multifamily dwellings or conversion of existing structures into multifamily dwellings. Basically, our zoning says, for 8 dwelling units, we need, the lot should be 32,000 square feet, and it's only 17. So it's about half.
like you said, it would make a difference, 2-story, 1-story. I mean, this is what I'm looking for, would be a drawing, you know, not an engineer's drawing, but just a drawing of the building where the, how it's gonna be situated on the lot, where the parking is going to be, and the access, you know, where the access comes in, was it, if you put the 50 by 120 here, that only leaves like 15 feet to come in and turn, you know, I just, I would, and we can continue it to next meeting without having to read all this and all that stuff too. So, I mean, that's me. I don't know what everybody else.
I mean, I still feel like a lot of those are planning, and it's not zoning, because he's asking permission to put 8 units on, something that he can put 4 on. You know, how that looks and everything is it's all planning. The right-of-way part, for me, is important, because I feel like we already have enough, like Snuppy Street in that area right there, it's not good for getting onto.
Understand.
And so, if you were gonna put a driveway to go to the Columbus Circle, I feel like that's a lot safer bet. But the shape of your building and all that, that's not zoning, that's planning.
Well,
I mean, he still has to
yeah.
meet all the requirements. If
For
not, he has to
anything
come
else
here.
for zoning, and then of course, planning, not that you couldn't take it, but has to meet all building and safety like the fire chief would have to reveal if he believed the fire, for Turner, that safety and parking and, but again, it doesn't mean that you can't ask for that, it's just that it couldn't, even if you approved less and then it can't get by a safety issue, he can't do it. I mean, if you approve less square footage, the more units, the less square footage per unit allowed. If he stumbled in a safety area via like the fire chief, that would kill the 8 units there. I don't even know, I'm trying to think outside the box, I don't even know what Steve would say. He might say the building has to be shorter. Like, or you have to go up 3 stories for it to be then safe. I don't, but that would potentially kill a plan. Do you know what I mean? If it became unsafe, like for turning around and stuff.
Do we know why that rule is made?
I mean, the 4,000 square foot.
Yeah.
I don't include.
I would guess it has, well, no, the 30% is green space probably.
30%,
Coverage
your
would be-
building,
Would be the green space.
Yeah, but that's being,
your
No,
building
I know.
takes no more than 30%.
That's what I mean, that's probably for green space, so I don't think that 2,000, 4,000 is green space.
And it could be because it's in a residential
it's
area that
congested.
they want some, green space around each unit.
It's the R2 zone
Yeah.
that typically does have lots smaller than a lot of other zones.
And
The RC,
It's in the R2.
R2.
R2 zone, which is one of the zones that has smaller lots. Overwhelmingly.
And just a guess, it was probably, apartments probably weren't as advantageous in 1970 as they are now, so it might have been to limit the number of units, which now we're way shorter units.
And it's not like it's in an area that would, not fit. It would fit in the neighborhood.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the Columbus Circle, and this gets into the, we got the safety thing. Columbus Circle isn't the best access on the, although it does get out onto,
Yeah, but it's better than Pinnacle.
and it does come out onto, Summer, right, too, right? Doesn't it?
Summer, yeah.
Yes.
Which is, you can go off Sunapee Street in the summer, and in the wintertime you want to go.
Yeah, right.
You want to believe
I just feel like he's gonna hit a bunch of obstacles that he's not gonna be able to overcome, and I don't think 8's gonna work anyways. But at least if the 8 was approved and he could only do 5, because that's just what this will actually look like. He doesn't have to come back here and, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But how do we approve on the information that we have now? We do not have any documents that will be in the file. we've got to have a plan. Ben's hand-drawn plan with dimensions and backup documents is sufficient, but nothing is insufficient.
I think the thing is, we don't understand the hardship.
The hardship's tough on them.
Well, the hardship, I mean, you want to put up 8 units, and that is your hardship, but the zoning calls out 4,000 square feet for a reason, so they may not have wanted as much density normally.
So, may I comment? Sure. I would say it's highly unlikely as a business case to proceed. Probably it's going to be between 6 and 8. There's no economic incentive
Yeah.
to build a 4-unit.
And we can
Here's
use,
your hardship.
we can use economics for hardship now,
Yeah,
yeah.
and that we can. Yeah, and we hear that with other developments, there's, an economy of scale where things become affordable. Like the one that was in here earlier, there's probably an economy of scale where a certain number of units makes it, doable. And certainly, with the cost of construction, you need to be able to make the numbers work.
I can tell you, renting 1 unit's a loser. But, yeah, I hear.
Can-
Go ahead.
No, you started, go.
Well, I was gonna say, I hear what Tim's saying, that we're more in concept than hard design, and but I still think we need to see, and I don't know if we're right down to, if we need to see the deed, but if we just know that the deed's recorded, that there is a deeded right away. And, a drawing of where the building's going and where the parking lot's going, that would go a long way for me, other than just the concept.
That could all change though, it'd be completely different.
It could if there were safety concerns, and it could be designed differently.
Right.
Or building code, which is pretty much out of my purview, would be the building inspector and
Before we can get to the 8, we have to get to the law. And that would be in the documents that we get. Can a hardship be created by a property owner through what he thinks he has to do to survive? Is that a hardship? Because if that's the case, go out and buy any lot that's substandard and say you want to put it in, you got to grant the variance to do it. So we need to see some sort of a plan. And so my motion would be that we continue this to
that would be,
next meeting for a hand-drawn and a few documents.
if you wanted to make
30
that motion.
30 days from now?
Be the 21st, July 21st.
Hold on, yeah. Just to get it, you're absolutely July 21st, Thursday,
Yeah.
July 21st at 6:30 PM. If you'd like to add that to your motion, it would be beneficial, Bert.
Can you put me first, because I'm going to Washington DC the next day?
You would be,
Continued business is ours first.
Yeah.
Thank you.
no, it's actually not, but we could request a move to first. It's actually kind of silly, but I can't change your agenda. It's in your rules of procedure.
Do you think continue would be?
We can do it.
Yeah, we can.
If you agree that, I'll agree to the other stuff.
All right. that works.
Okay, so before we let him go, you want the deed for
Oh, yeah.
231?
Yes, and 2.
What?
Can I get you those deeds in advance, so that you have a
Yes.
chance to look at it?
I will send I can send it as quickly as you get it to them. I usually send a week in advance. And yeah.
Oh, there's an asset, so that way you show up with what everybody wants, so
I'm
that you just,
I'm there.
streamlined it.
But if you want to have an opportunity to read the deeds in advance.
I should have the sketch to at least a week in advance to send them to him. And potentially, if you do want to talk to DOT at all, to maybe even see what this situation is. That would-
Yeah, if he's got the right of way on the Columbus Circle,
Yeah.
that's all.
I just thought that might relieve you even more, I don't know.
I mean, at least, go ahead.
Excuse me, Mr. Spalding, did you want to list the
Well, my
request?
motion, my motion got ran over, hasn't got a second, so it's just talk at this point.
Well,
We'll go further with it
Make your
here.
motion with the date, time.
Well, I want to go back and see if we can make something that is sensible. I'm thinking that right-of-way was created in order to make this lot in the first place. And if that's the case, then from a public safety point of view, we have to figure that in. Because the downhill 211 and 103 on a private driveway on some mornings is going to be a slide to the bottom.
Right.
And that's with tenants who have gone out there and got to go to work. So this public safety issue of the right-of-way is significant.
I agree.
And it appears that it's already there and deeded. So we need a deed for Lot 231 and Lot 232 so that we can put that piece together and say, okay, it's going to be safe. Then we need to go to the setbacks and et cetera. We meet the setbacks. Then maybe it's a go. But 8 and square footage, we have we have a landlord here who has experience and has done a lot. As he mentioned the numbers of them, he has got one with 6 apartments at 4,000 would be 24,000. It only has 16,000. He has another with 3 apartments, which would be 12,000. It's 10,000.
Which zones are they in?
Well, that's 8 to 10 Laurel Street, the one I just mentioned.
Okay.
The previous one was Central Street by the town office, right here. Then he's got 12 apartments with 2.2 acres. He meets everything and has plenty of them. Then
So from what you're saying,
what I'm saying, Jeff, let me say what I'm saying.
okay.
All right, is he has experience, he has a number of apartments. I think that he's doing things well. Meaning, even he will want the entrance to be the right-of-way rather than 11 and 103. So all we need to do is see his plan in order to help to guide him to do what he wants to do. If in fact we can get by the zoning requirements.
Right, but what I'm getting at is, the variance he wants is to reduce the amount of square foot of the lot, the number of units. And what you've mentioned, there's already similar situations in this immediate area that have that same
So,
condition. So we're not creating a new variant situation because it exists in other properties right around here.
so I would add that for next month.
So I mean,
That there
It's,
were other-
there's grandfathered down.
but.
Yes, I know, but I
Yes.
would,
No, I'm just making it
saying
simple.
That almost is enough to consider moving forward because the
The
existing.
neighborhood is
condition-
already adjusted to that.
Right.
So,
We're not creating a new density in the area.
Right.
You
so
basically said,
all right,
this
we're
area is
discussing
already
stuff that
that dense.
we can discuss
So
next month.
do we really need to look at the right-of-way and stuff and the layout on the property? Because I don't, there is no request for a variance from any of those requirements. Those all have to be met, or he'll have to come back for another variance.
Well,
Just looking at the density of units on the, acreage,
I don't want
it's
to,
already an existing.
I want to have a standard of having a little more drawing than this, so we don't get more things like the campground or whatever it was out there on Pike Hill. I mean, I'd like to limit that type
Right.
of stuff.
But looking at just the density, I mean, Bert basically said, we already have that condensed density
Yeah,
in the
and
area.
that would bode well for argument next month and go a long way. And my sense is in 1970, they wanted less apartments, so that's why they did the 4,000. And now I think it's pretty good consensus, we need more apartments. Because it used to be, damn apartments, they bring kids in. Well, the school could use a few more kids and they don't seem to either, so.
I think teachers need someplace to live now.
Yes.
That too,
Yeah, and so my guess is that's why the 4,000 square feet was there, was to limit it in 1970 when we did one more 4-bedroom houses or 2-bedroom houses.
And
All right.
And Christina, if you're keeping a running list of things planning board should look at revising the
Yes.
zoning ordinance, you can throw that.
You
one in.
could, or you just leave it and you do it case by case like you are here, but I agree, there are some things, that things have so dramatically changed, which I hope they don't stay this suffering way, but the shocking need, I know another unit, one unit's getting redone, and the guy has 7 people lined up. It is sad, I hope it changes, period, somehow.
Not quick enough.
All right, Maura's
Right.
got her hand up.
I need a second.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I hadn't,
For Bert's motion to continue to January 21st, 2022.
July.
at
June,
6:30.
July.
Yeah, he hasn't made.
Oh, July, I'm sorry.
Not January.
okay, but okay,
It starts with J.
I'm gonna ditch that one, I'm gonna make a new one. Okay, because that one did not include all of what I think we need at this point. So I would move that we continue to July 21st, 2022. Case number
1132.
1132. And requiring a deed for lot 231 and 232. Just a single copy, and she can copy the rest for us. Then we have lot dimensions by the deed, which will do our check and balance against what we're looking at here, which is not meant to talk about disclaimers. The lot dimensions that are on there are not concrete, so we'll have both. I think that does it. Anybody else think of anything that we need?
I think Ben wants a sketch.
Yeah, just a drawing, drawing of the building and.
All right, yep. Building location.
And parking lot, but like I say, it doesn't have to be a surveyor's drawing to rough scale, I guess.
Sure setbacks sort of thing, make sure it doesn't take up more than 30% of the lot.
Does a fire truck need 360? Or just,
I don't know about that,
I'll ask.
you could call Steve.
I think the side lots are only 8 feet, so it's hard to figure out.
That's what I thought. Or I'll stop by and talk to him.
But it's, lots small enough to run the hose in. Not like it's a.
Plus, we're Sunapee
Warrants
Street would be
it.
beneficial in the event of an emergency.
More, that one dies for lack of a second.
Wait. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
And,
Oh,
go ahead.
you added that to continue date and time, I didn't hear you did,
Do a
okay.
date
July
certain, yeah.
21st.
Thank you, sorry, I missed it.
And
I just want to make sure.
Maura will swear to that.
Good, I missed it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in.
Okay, any other business?
What's this?
I have the grandfather rights to go over, although it's relatively boring and benign, and I would more than willing continue it. And I'm not sure which I should do, is I had gotten some information, some of it's kind of lengthy, but I could try to send it in, one of them's thick. Send it to you so you could look it over. I know Ben especially wanted to have some on the history of grandma, unless you want to chew into it now. But I feel like I don't know if I've sent you the documents I found.
God bless Ella Casey used to say nothing good happened after 9 o'clock, and we're getting.
I know, we're getting to
I think
that.
she used to say after 8 o'clock.
Let me do this, let me give you some of these, or I can make, I have only, Ben, I know you specifically were interested, and again, this might not even satisfy you fully. And those were the ones I had found, and I know Bert did research on this also. And I would have to send you another copy.
You can send, you can email it.
Okay, there. So you could look over it and then we could discuss it. But they're not as easy, they're not black and white, like anything isn't, like you think it's black and white and it's not. You can lose your rights if you're not careful, is a high level overview, like in sweeping broad terms. If you, so I would say move that to next meeting if you're still interested in digging into that information.
Yeah, if we have 10 cases, we can always punt it down the road again.
Absolutely. It was more informational. It was based on that barn case.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Whatever, Bradford.
yes.
All right, we'll do that by consent. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So.
All in favor?
Aye.